Hey, hello guys, this is Karthik from executeautomation.com. This is part 9 of our BDD video series. So in this part, we are going to discuss about scenario contest. So before watching this part, I request you to watch part 7 and part 8 since part 9 is highly dependent on part 7 and part 8 since we're going to use the same project. Scenario contest. So far till part 8, we saw how Specflow compiled the Gherkin language specification, like how feature works, how scenario works, how scenario outline works, how given when then statements works, and how feature files compile with the step definitions. But we have not yet seen much of the functionality of the actual Specflow itself. The only class library we used was table, but other than that, we didn't use anything. So from this part, we will be discussing only about Specflow specific features. Okay, so in this part, we're going to discuss about scenario contests. Scenario contest is one among the feature which can be used to store any values. It's more like a dictionary in C Sharp. And it stores everything in a key value combinations. So it can store a simple data type or it can store a complex data type. As you can see here, currently I'm storing in the scenario contest.current. So scenario contest is a class and it has a current which stores the complex or the simple data types. As you can see here, I'm just going to store the delete as a value for the key info for step 2. So you can pass this particular value of a key to the next step or to the other steps within a particular scenario. But this scenario contest will automatically refresh while you move to the next scenario. So this value will not be retained while you move to the next scenario. What if in a feature file there are more than 3 or 4 scenarios and you want to use a specific value only for a specific scenario? Then you can use this scenario contest so that this value will be valid only for that particular scenario but not be taken over to the next scenario steps. Scenario context can also hold the complex objects as shown here. As you can see, I have created a complex type student. This will have student ID, country, email, and a name, and also the phone number. And I'm just storing all this value in a list. And then this is also can also saved within scenario contest using .set method. So let's discuss about scenario contest directly in our Visual Studio and see how things works. This is the same feature file which we worked in part 7 and part 8. And I'm going to use the same scenario outline for our scenario contest demonstration. Let's go to the definition of this particular statement. This is the step which we have in our step definition CS file. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to store a very simple data type using our scenario contest dot current of. And if you remember, the scenario contest dot current dot pending, this is the method which will be automatically generated once the step is created by the Specflow. This indicates that the current step is in pending state and cannot be executed further, and this will report to the test or the test execution engines stating the test cannot run further because this particular step has not been implemented yet, right? So we'll take our storing of simple data type. So I'm going to store a data type here saying info for next step. I'm going to say step 1 passed. Just try to print it out. Scenario contest dot current of info for next step dot toString. Go to the test window, test explorer, and we will run any one of the values. That's it. Go to the output, you can see that step 1 passed. So this is the value which we stored in our scenario contest.current and we're getting it back. Now let's try out a complex data type. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this employee details class, and I'm going to create a list of employee details. And then I'm going to save the list of employee details into my scenario contest, and then I'm going to get it back and I will see how things works. And you can also apply the same in the real-time scenario like this. What you can do here is you can get a list of data from a database and store it in your complex data type, and then you can verify the same data with your application's UI and verify whether the data is really matching or not. So this particular stuff will be very handy while working with a real-time scenario. But as of now, since we don't have any real-time applications, we will directly print it out and see how the outputs are being printed by saving the value in a scenario context and getting the data back from scenario context. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a list of employees in the same step definitions. I'm going to create a list of employee details. Oops. Emp details is equal to new list of employee details, and I am going to directly save it here. So what I'm going to do here is new employee details of, and we know the data type here like age, employee name, employee phone number. So for the sake of time, I have already written this code. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy this code. As you can see here, I have already done the code, so I'm just going to overwrite this particular piece of code. Alright, so what I have did here is I have created a list of employee details like Abraham as a name, age is 20, email address, phone number. Similarly for the second employee Mike and third employee is Jacob. Right, and then the next stuff we're going to do is we're going to save the scenario, save the value in scenario contest. And now I'm going to use a method of scenario contest called scenario contest.current.add. So using this method, you can store even a complex data type in key value combinations. So here I'm going to give a name of the key as emp details, and the value, since it's going to be an object, you can store any data types. So here my object is emp details, right? That's it. Just see the differentiation between the capital letter and small letters. Other than that, there is no differentiation between key and the value, which is an object state. All right. The next thing is we need to get the value out from scenario contest. I'm going to use a method called scenario context.current.get. And as you can see here, if I open this angle bracket, you can see I can again pass a generic data type of any type, and then I can also pass the key. So the key here is emp details. So as we already know that the data type which we are going to pass here is of type list and which is of IEnumerable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use IEnumerable of employee detail with the key being emp details. So basically we are using the second order method of this particular get method. So we are just calling the key and saving this value. What I'm going to do is I'm going to store this value into a var data type because this data type can hold any types. So var of emp list, alright, and then we'll iterate through this value using for each of So let's call our employee details of EMP in collections. So the collection is EMP list, and then we're going to print each and every value out from an employee. So here we're going to say the employee name is emp dot name. Similarly, we can say the employee age is emp dot age. So what I'm going to do is, instead of wasting our time, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right here. So the employee email is emp dot email, and what else we got? Email and his phone number, right? All right, and his phone number is, there we go. So we'll give a blank space just for formatting. Okay, if you have given a carriage return, and that's it. So let's run this and see if we could save and get the value out from a scenario contest. So I'm going back to the test explorer and going to run this test, and we'll see the build succeeded and the test has run. Okay, so if we go to the output, and you can see here the employee name is Abraham, his age is 20, and here is the email address. Similarly Mike, and similarly for Jacob. Alright, so now you can compare this particular value of a complex data set of a scenario contest with the actual value of a UI which you try to grab and store it in a complex data type. That's how you can use the scenario contest complex data types saving functionality. Let's go back to the slide. Scenario contest has some more useful properties such as count, current scenario block, scenario info, test errors, and add and get. That's what we saw, right? So let's run through quickly about the current scenario block or scenario info, which will be very helpful while working with our Specflow while working with scenarios. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to print the current scenario info and see how the things look like. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go to the console.writeline of scenario contest dot current dot scenario info dot, and if you can see here the scenario info property itself has two more properties called tag and title. So let's get the title and let's print this. So since the return type is string, you don't have to use the toString again. And if I go back to the test explorer and if I run this test, and the output here is, see, so just printing out the actual step from the feature file and printing it in the step definitions, which is the input. It also passes the parameter inputs here directly, and you can use this in many instances while reporting. Also you can see the current scenario block. So what I'm going to do here is scenario contest dot current scenario block, and which will be very handy while reporting again. So these things are most probably, uh, as of my guessing, should be used only in reporting purpose, not for any other stuff. So as you can see, it says that this is currently using the when block of the step definition. All right, that's it guys. So this is all about the scenario contest and some of the properties we dimensified, and we see how things works in scenario contest. We'll explore more libraries of Specflow in next upcoming videos. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.